Welcome back, YouTube. So yesterday, the PvP team put out massive patch notes for the upcoming week or reset on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about how I feel these changes affect Devastation Evoker, but also the game as a whole. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Let's get into the changes that were put out that, in my mind, are restoring faith back in the PvP development team. And let's start right off with their little message here. So during scheduled weekly maintenance on 25th January, it will be making a number of tuning adjustments. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. So this is based off Raid and Mythic Plus content and their performance, but there are also PvP changes that we're going to dig into. So I'm not going to go into every single line here, but I will pick out the most important parts that are going to affect Arena so that you don't have to waste time digging through all of this. So let's go down to one of the first ones that caught my eye. We are going all the way down to player versus player. So the biggest change for the trinket set bonus primary stat provided is decreased by 40%. And then also the stamina increased by 35%. This is great. There was way too much one-shotting, random deaths, healers, I'm sure, raging that, they had full hots up on a guy and he just randomly got hunted for 190,000. And as you can see, the developers notes say they've been keeping an eye on the PvP pacing in Arena, and it's been very fast, especially when people get their tier sets and more gear. And absolutely, this is correct. This leaves less room for player reactions than they would like. So I think that on a whole, this is really good for the game. Less burst, more consistent damage is going to be rewarded here. So that is absolutely a great change. A quick note on Death Knight. So Death Strike is no longer reducing PvP combat. This is completely fine because improved Death Strike is still reduced by 50%. And Runa's Spell Warding is now 33% effective, in addition to the casting speed reduction given to casters while they're attacking Death Knight is reduced by 33%. That is outstanding. It was, as a caster, it is extremely difficult to take down a Death Knight, not unless you have an insanely long crowd control chain on the healer and a silence for the DK so we can't use Death Strike. Moving on to Druid. This is great. Rake and rip damage reduced by 18% in PvP combat. I honestly think that this is not enough. Truly. If any of the games that you've played against a Feral Druid, you would see that on the damage meters, that these two spells are just insanely overperforming if the Druid has like a significant uptime. Way more than any other dot or bleed in the game, period. So this is really nice to see, but I honestly think that it's still not quite enough, but that remains to be seen over the coming week. Also, Ferocious Bite damage reduced by 25% in PvP combat, which is fine. I completely agree with that. Moving on to Boomkin. Now, for some reason, there's been a theme going around that Boomkins aren't good. That could be due to their survivability, but I felt that if you played Boomkin to the best of its ability, you were going to be a strong contender in any match that you play in. So this Wrath and Starfire 50% increased damage being buffed is quite scary, to be honest. You might see a lot more Boomkins around this week. And then New Moon, Half Moon, and Full Moon deal 20% increased damage. So definitely a little scared about that. But nevertheless, Boomy was underperforming, so it's nice to see that they're getting a little bit above. Also, Feral Frenzy, damage reduced by 10%, and then Frenzied Regeneration, healing reduced by 50%, which was 38% in PvP combat for Restoration and Feral only. This is really good because like Feral was very unkillable. They would just dot everything, do the mostest damage, and you couldn't do anything about it. So this is really nice. To the boys, the Evoker, to the Dragon Squad. So Deep Breath deals 20% increased damage in PvP, and it was 40. Now, I thought that even before the last round of buffs to Deep Breath, that it was already doing incredible damage. I really didn't even think it needed a buff, but now they're tuning it back a little bit, 20%. I still think that's completely fine. You will still do a ton of damage. I don't see this really affecting our talents or our playstyle a little or too much, so that's really nice. And then Spellweaver's Dominance grants 20% increased critical strike, down from 30. So they reverted that change from last time. So again, this is not game breaking, and I don't really see it making me not take the talent, even with this slight tuning. Now, Disintegrate, they keep buffing Disintegrate. Disintegrate deals 20% increased damage PvP and was 15. I honestly love this. I would prefer that actually that they change it to where Disintegrate only absorbs or uses the essence based on the tick, because if you get kicked instantly, then you lose out on the 3 essence, which feels bad, especially since you can only cast it on the move with Hover, which Hover already has a ridiculously long cooldown, specifically against people like Arms Warrior or Rogue, who have like the mostest gap closers. But this is overall is nice. And then Azure Strike deals 20% increase in PvP. I think this is also really good because if you were to trying to kill a Psy Fiend with an Azure Strike, it was going to take you 4 to 5 glows just to do that. So that's really nice to have. And then for Preservation, Dream Projection heal over time cannot be dispelled, and that'll cost 4% base mana. I still don't think that this is enough to take down Preservation as the #1 healer right now. I really feel that Echo needs to be changed to either a cooldown or just it has to cost higher essence, because right now it costs 2 essence, and you can use Echo in so many different ways to just continually top your teammates, which for me doesn't feel like very interactive and fun gameplay. But we'll get there when we get there, hopefully. Roar Sacrifice now deals less damage to the pet, 20%, down to 10. So hunters can rejoice a little bit with that. Arcane Bombardment, now 40% effective in PvP, was 65. Now, definitely felt bad to get randomly one-shot by this talent from Arcane Mages, so I'm very happy with this talent right here. And then Monks getting a little bit of a nerf to their mana. 15% down to 10%. And then they reverted the Chrysalis change, so this is quite nice because Monks are really not performing that well right now. And now the biggest, most impactful change, in my opinion, is the change to Paladin. So specifically Rep Paladin, also actually Holy Paladin, because Divine Protection now gives 30% damage mitigation, up from 20. Increased damage or increased healing on 50% for Flash of Light, and then Reckoning increases the damage of your next judgment by 25%, which was 100%. Now you would get randomly one shot by Divine Toll. You would also get randomly one shot by Final Reckoning, Radiant Decree. All of these things are nerfed coming up on Tuesday, which is really nice to see. And then 2-set change on the tier set for Paladin for Ret. And then Crusader Strike increased by 80%, which was 30. Now this is fine because this is their one of their consistent damage dealers. And then Healing Hands is 70% effective in PvP combat when it was 50. So they're balancing out a little bit more the just general flow of how damage and healing is distributed, which is very nice. It's not good for the game when somebody gets one shot, and it's not good for the game when someone just goes from a high percentage to a low percentage very quickly without any way to stop that or mitigate it. Earth Earth Unleashed for Unleashed Shield for Shamans now breaks on damage, which is exceptionally good. I mean, and they're even reducing the root from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. It felt terrible to have a no counterplay, especially as a Devastation Evoker main, to just be rooted without any way out of it other than Trinket or relying on a healer to dispel. So that feels really nice to have. And then they're also reducing elemental damage with all the meatballs they've been launching at you. So Primordial Surge, Lava Burst damage is now only 60% effective. So that's really nice to see. And then Warriors getting a slight buff. Thunderous Roar, bleed damage no longer deals reduced damage in PvP. I remember on the beta, there was a lot of bleed builds going around for Warrior. So that is likely to come back. And I don't think that Warriors will be too upset about this. I think they're gonna be pretty happy going into the next patch. So that's it for the changes coming up this week. Like I said, this is something that is very good for the game. Burst damage is getting nerfed. Consistent damage is getting a little bit stronger. And personally, I love to see these types of changes so frequently and so in depth. This truly gives me more faith in the developers that they really do know what they are doing, and that they are on top of the things that are happening in Arena, and that they are going to continue, God willing, to keep this type of communication and these changes up. So thank you guys for checking out today's video. If you did enjoy it, please hit that thumbs up for me and continue, please, to subscribe to the channel. I continue to try to deliver up-to-date content for World of Warcraft and Devastation Evoker, and I have a ton of guides on my channel if this is the first time you're checking out one of these videos. So thank you guys again for checking this out, and I will be streaming every single day on my Twitch channel at JD_Yadig, so you can catch my silly high-rated games for Devastation Evoker there. All right, thank you guys again for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.